Welcome to our fourth virtual field trip, and with this trip I am taking you through a few locations up Provo Canyon. This spot is up Squaw Peak Road Trail, near, just above actually, the Provo Gun Club. So we're going to encounter several different kinds of species that are typical of these mountain, somewhat higher elevations. We're still not particularly up there, but this, for example, here on the right is the deathcamas, foothill deathcamas, and it's in the lily family, Liliaceae. And besides the morphology of the flowers, the strap-like leaves down there are a giveaway. And this is Lewis flax, and this will fill entire fields. In fact, I think we've got later where you're looking through entire fields of this. It's likely that you'll encounter this, as it is common, and the blooming lasts for a very long time. Now, you can see that we've got oaks and grasses here. You can obviously see the mountains behind us, but typically you could look closely like this and see a lot of those the deathcamas there, and there are a lot of flowers blooming right now in this location, and it's a good time to get out there and to make some additions to your collections. And also, this is one of my favorites. This is actually an edible root plant, and was used, the roots actually dried for flour, or was, by native people. You still could. And it's an important forage plant for livestock. And these are very widespread at this time of year. You'll see we will walk through full entire fields of this. And that's more of that balsam root. You can see that we're elevated off of the canyon floor, but not nearly to the heights of the mountains. And a lot of this oak is just beginning to get some foliage. This is a thistle, likely a Scotch thistle. These grow large, are invasive, but they'll have a beautiful purple colored flower on the top there. This is similar to the vetch that we have identified in an earlier video, and I look at this later, but this is a particularly pink, just beginning to develop example of Dalmatian toadflax. Now, when you pull these plants apart, the leaves are distinct as well as the floral parts, but we'll have a more stereotypical example that we look at a little bit later. So that's the Provo River, and we're just a little ways up from Bridalveil Falls and some other popular places. This is a member of Fabaceae, a lot of Fabaceae blooming right now, and this is a particularly beautiful sweetvetch, Utah sweetvetch, and these are typically blooming, typically found at various elevations. You can find them blooming throughout the year. Throughout the summer months. This is some more phlox, like we've seen in a few, in I think multiple, no, I guess that was a practice video, but we've seen this phlox. This is pretty widespread spiny phlox, and there's various colors of it. That may not actually be spiny phlox. I didn't collect the flowers to identify this phlox, but also you can tell spiny phlox from a combination of using the flowers and the leaves. Sometimes it's okay to not know exactly what something is and need to key it out. A big part of this, as we've talked about, is being able to look at some of these characteristics and identify to family or to genus. Now, this is SALSIFY, which is in Asteraceae. You see these right now. Actually, there's a lot of them right off of the freeway in some of the gravel-covered landscaping areas because of the disturbed soil. This is American vetch, and it's actually operates as a little vine and is typically found in conifer areas. This is at the base of a conifer. But keying these is important because there are a lot of similarities between the vetches and members of Fabaceae in general. And leaves can help you know, but that's not the only thing. It's a combination, particularly of those floral parts. These rocky hills are where you can often find members of Oenothera, the primrose family. This smells lovely and is typically closed during the day and open at night. This was earlier, plus kind of overcast. Here's some more Fabaceae that I did not key out, but you can again tell from those distinct floral parts, and the leaves give away. Looks like a vetch, but it may even be American vetch, but I did not identify it. And this is behaving a little less like a vine and is growing out in the open, but that, these keys aren't right on. I just wanted to show this is a disturbed area with a lot of human activity, and I found some introduced species that likely could have been from dumping by people that live in Provo or somewhere up the canyon. This is a non-native member of Boraginaceae, Forget-Me-Not. Still very, very standard Boraginaceae features, and those little flowers you'll be able to pick out as members of Boraginaceae. This is a very, very common plant that you'll find up the canyon and throughout the state of Utah. It's a hound's tongue, and there's an even larger, more typical example we see when we get near some wetlands area. But the combination of the flowers and leaves are a dead giveaway. So here's a better example of the typical stem and flower coloration of this member of Scrophulariaceae. This is that Dalmatian toadflax, also not native, but very well established here in the state of Utah. This was a little further down the road, in elevation, and there were a tremendous amount of these Lewis flax. And I don't know if I've included any footage of it, but there was fields full of this at the time that was all in bloom and very, very nice to look at. But I have moved on, and I'm actually now down next to the river, the Provo River, between Bridal Veil Falls and the Upper Falls Trail. Now, this is a very, very common inhabitant of the near stream areas right there on the water. This is a dogwood, and when there's more light, the center of those flowers, it will be more of a red color, but this was a very shaded individual. Here's more of that hound's tongue, maybe even more of a typical example that's grown a little bit taller. Same flowers though, same leaf type. And another common inhabitant of this river shore area is this horsetail. And there's not a floral structure on the top of it, but it is pretty unique. Equisetum, and this was used to wash clothing, scrubbing, and some other things by early inhabitants of the state. Now, there were not a lot of flowers on this, off at the side of this road to my left here, but I'm walking along and showing you this area because later in the summer months there are often a variety, a sort of a changing cast of characters of flowers there for y'all to go find. Part of another reason why I make these videos, as I've mentioned in the past, is so that you can come and you can see areas I've been so that you can find flowers. Now we're headed on this bridge to cross the river over to the other side, where there are conifers and a slightly different environment than we've been in, both near the river and in that open space. So hopefully we'll encounter some different species over here. Okay, this is the trail that actually is common throughout the canyon and all the way to from here and actually further up the canyon all the way down to Utah Lake. I'm stopping actually because I didn't want to be hit by these cyclists, but this is a trail up to a waterfall called Upper Falls, and if you have not been, I highly recommend this hike, both for finding flowers and for encountering a very less traveled and very beautiful waterfall. And it can be on a Sunday or a Saturday when the trail is full and Bridal Veil Falls and the parks are just full, and there will still be minimal traffic on this trail. To the right there's some barberry. We actually identify it in a little bit, but this is pretty common and it's actually really widespread in this area. It was kind of nice how much of it was blooming. This plant was also used by native Utahns as a source of food. This is a giant biscuit root, and this is an important forage as well for cattle and other animals, the member of Apiaceae, the parsley family. Now, here we get a closer look at that barberry, and this one, when you find it, it will key out pretty readily, and you shouldn't have any trouble identifying it when you encounter this. Now, the next plant that we're going to look at, or at least see when we walk past it, is pretty widespread, and sometimes you don't even notice is flowering or has flowers because of its pretty diminutive flowers compared to the rest of the plant. This is false Solomon seal, and those, a member of the lily family, those strap-like leaves are indicative of that, and this also readily keys out based both on the flowers and the leaves. All right, this is horse mint, member of Lamiaceae, the mint family, and our trip is over. Thank you.